Hey guys, what's up? It's the Maniac here, the Commish, bringing you the Deuce 360 show. Um, Hurt messaged me earlier and said, "Hey, I can jump in with you and stuff." I told him just I kind of had a short show, hard enough to believe because I do actually want to check out the presidential um, debate that's going on. But I wanted to do something. I've been wanting to do something all day, and just never seemed like I could get in to the game. Besides actually playing a couple of games today, to actually do the 360 show. Um, but just wanted to touch base because we are getting close to the end of the season. As you can see, we are in uh, week 13. And just looking at some of the matchups that's already went down from some of the users. West Virginia played a really tight game there with UCF 25. They lost 25-22. Iowa lost to the Terps 22-19. These are all CPU games. Michigan gets the win 30. Nicelonger with a nice win there over Northwestern. Texas A&M loses to Auburn. Mo gets the victory versus Mr. Bill. What a game, 32-31. Um, got some questions a little bit later on. I'm going to answer those. Some of these scores you're seeing, user versus user, user versus CPU, will be part of my answer. Georgia hasn't played yet. Colorado defeats TCU 35-16. Ohio State uh, actually gets a close win there, 45-31 over Wisconsin. We have lost a few. What's up, Big Hurt? We have lost a few owners in the last couple of weeks, but again, it's going to be something I kind of address here in a little bit. Texas Tech and Mr. Priest has been putting on a I don't know if you call a clinic, but man, he has actually surprised me with those Texas Tech Red Raiders and has done an exceptional job. He's got them uh, with a 9-2 record, 6-1 in the conference, so he's probably going to be possibly looking at playing it for a Big 12 conference championship game. So USC Zoe dismantles UCLA 55-0. Michigan State pretty much dismantles Purdue 31-7. Tim, he is ranked number 2 right now, 12-0. So congrats to him for getting into this position to make himself a contender for the championship. LSU Nate hasn't played yet there, so he'll be facing Vanderbilt. K-State, uh, Bronco Man squeaks out the 21-7 win in the snow against Cincinnati. That one looked like it was a good game. Notre Dame's going to be playing Army. That'll probably be a really big game for Notre Dame. I think they'll probably stomp Army. Penn State 30 to over Oregon 20. Pepper, we all seen the chat where I explained the reason why he left because he just couldn't party hard any longer, and he left some of his belongings behind. So, but we wish him well. But Oregon is now a CPU team. So, but Penn State Penguins took care of business. Texas fell a little bit, but they've been bouncing back here lately. Back to number 8. Penn State there was number 4. Texas pretty much humiliates Kentucky, 34-0. Alabama, Oklahoma. This is going to be a good game. Two good users, two different styles, but I think it's going to be a matchup worthy to watch. Georgia Tech, Mr. Trey. Haven't seen a whole lot out of Trey. He is here and out and about. But man, he dismantles Pitt 62-13. Take it easy, man. What did Pitt do to you? No, he did phenomenal. Oregon State, McFlurry has been doing really well as of late. Also, he's 9-2. He's ranked number 14, 35-0 win over Washington State. So that's kind of a rundown in Week 13 games. Looking at your top 25, we're going to look at the college football playoff rankings. So again here, Ohio State, number 1, well-deserved. He has been there all season long, 11-0. Michigan State, number 2, he's earned it. He got the 49-45 win over Illinois. 12-0 though for the season. So him and Denver's going to be playing for the Big Ten championship. So that's going to be a good game. That also could have implications though on the college football playoff situation for one of those teams. Alabama, 10-0. Little Koch has got this team rolling. He lost a spot. He was number 2, but they dropped him down because he was on a bye week, So Penn State 4 in the college football playoff. He got the big win again, like we talked about. K-State is at number 6. Clemson, Bird, number 8. He did have the one game that I think he lost to Pepper, if I'm not mistaken. So he's 10-1 on the season. USC also had kind of a slip up, so they're 10-1. I had the slip up against Alabama. Alabama just destroyed, not Alabama, but Georgia. Georgia just destroyed me. Couldn't do nothing against him. So we're 10-1. Oklahoma 9-1. Their loss came to me. Notre Dame is at number 10 with Georgia, Michigan, and Florida State on the outside looking in currently for the college football playoffs. Coaches poll, 1 Ohio State, 2 Michigan State, 3 is Penn State, Alabama's 4, K-State 5, Clemson 6, USC 7, Texas 8, Oklahoma 9, and Notre Dame 10 in the coaches poll. Pretty much the same thing with the media poll as well. I don't think I see anything different besides possibly I think these two swapped positions, and I think these two swapped positions. Everything else is the same for the top 10. And just kind of look at all the users that are actually in the top 25. Congrats on being listed as a top 25 team. So going along with that, we'll look at the bowl predictions or projections. Bowl projections right now looking pretty good. This should say exactly who's going to play what, but I think a lot of these are relying upon what happens with some of the championship games. But one thing I just noticed that I wish EA would add that has it for my team, but all the other user teams don't show up with a little user to the side of them when you're looking at the bowl projections. So maybe there'll be something they'll add. Nebraska, looking at the LA Bowl versus Colorado State. Florida State looking at the Fenway Bowl against UAB. Ohio State. Looking at first round of the college football playoffs, playing Jacksonville State. Um, eh, it's not great logic, but it is what it is. Another first round of the college football playoffs right now. Currently, because this will change, it'll get mixed up once we start having the championship games. But Oklahoma will face off again against Texas for the first round of the playoffs. So it'll be a rematch. Utah Lost Sniper would be facing Shiloh Bad in the Las Vegas Bowl. That's kind of odd since he is from Las Vegas, so that's kind of funny. Georgia would be looking at a first round college football playoff bowl game, playoff game against Penn State and Penguins as well. So number 4 versus number 11. USC versus Notre Dame, that would be a good game as well. Both these guys have played really good, exceptional football so far. Miami and Old Timer would be playing in the Boca Raton Bowl. So that would be against Tulane. I'm sure that's probably some kind of Cajun thing that is just messed up, and Nate's going to let me know exactly what I did wrong. The Detroit Bowl would have been Pepper, but he's no longer there. So, see, the Gasparilla Bowl with Oregon State versus Louisville. So that would be Mr. McFlurry there playing in that game. The Texas Bowl, Bill's hopped around so much I can't remember what team he's actually on, but that would be Mo versus the CPU there in the Texas Bowl with Auburn. Boise State, that is James. James will be playing in the Liberty Bowl against Florida Athletic. Clemson, Peach Bowl. They're looking to be going to the Peach Bowl, but still need to get updated on who they're going to be matched up against. Michigan State right now is slated for the Rose Bowl. That could be changing also once we advance to the next week. Here at number 2 in the standings. The Sugar Bowl, K-State would be also playing someone. Probably some of these are going to be some teams from the SEC, possibly the Big Ten that have not been listed. Alabama would also be geared up to be playing in the Fiesta Bowl against someone. Georgia Tech and Trey coming back with the Pop-Tarts Bowl. That's always that bowl's kind of a fun one to watch. So definitely, Trey has made his comeback to the grown folks, and he's got Georgia Tech rolling. Texas Tech, Priest, the Alamo Bowl against Purdue. Again, like I said, these are projections. Music City Bowl right now is projecting that Big Hurt would be facing off against Michigan and Nysonger for that Music City Bowl. And then, not to skip over there, the Citrus Bowl right now would be LSU playing UCLA. That would be a fun bowl to watch. And then the Gator Bowl versus Texas A&M and Bill. Yeah, I had to sit here and think, like, where's Bill at now? Bill is at Texas A&M facing off against SMU in the Gator Bowl. That would be some fun bowls to definitely watch. I think those guys always love the human versus human games, the CPU games. They can either go one way or the other. They can go where the human blows out the opponent, or the CPU is just dominant. Just depends on who's playing, and you can't do anything against them. So, but so far the human versus human games have been really entertaining and close. Looking at the college football playoff bracket, right now it's projected first round Ohio State facing Jacksonville State, Oklahoma versus Texas, Georgia at Penn State, Notre Dame at USC, with Alabama, K-State, Michigan, and Clemson all currently set to get quarterfinal bye weeks. So that is a interesting bowl playoff bracket so far right now. There's a couple teams missing from it that could sneak in. Just depends on what happens championship weekend. So there is a lot of things that could happen that could make that change tremendously before the season's over with. Looking at the awards, just take a look at the Heisman. Who is leading the Heisman right now? Florida State's Patrick Payton is their top guy. Can't see his stats, but I know he is. His last game he had a sack, but I think he is like leading the nation in sacks right now. I think it's like something astronomical, like 20, 30, something like that. Abdul Carter is in the runner-up right now. Malik Benson, also from Florida State. Gavin, I don't know where. Sawchuk, Gavin Sawchuk. What a name! Is at 4 with a halfback, and then Trey Moore from University of Texas is bringing up the rear at number 5 for your Heisman watch. The awards list: Player of the Year, Abdul Carter right now is leading that. Coach of the Year, Michigan State with Tim. Best quarterback, Jalen Milroe from Alabama. You can see that there's quite a few good-looking guys here from the league that are vying for that spot. Best defensive player, Abdul Carter again. Best defensive back, Jermaine Matthews from Ohio State. He's got 3 of his cornerbacks, 1, 2, and 3, all right there. So definitely that tells you Ohio State's got some playmakers in the defensive backfield. Best running back for the nation right now, Nate Carter. That would be a big surprise just looking at things. But Michigan State, with his resurgence in his game so far here in NCAA college football, he's got it on point, 12-0, and that's a big part of his offense right there. Sawchuk is also right on his heels. A lot of users here vying for that best running back spot. Best receiver, Malik Benson, right now is in a battle with Isaiah Bond from Texas for that best receiver spot. A Lombardi Award that also goes for the best presented to the defensive lineman of the year. Abdul Carter looked like he's going to be run away with a lot of hardware. Trey Moore is in 5th place there. The Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award. This is kind of odd, but it's Notre Dame's Riley Leonard is the only user within the top 10, 12 players for the Johnny Unitas Award. So that is actually a shocker for me. Best defensive end. Again, we're looking at Abdul Carter, Trey Moore, Ethan Burke, Florida State's Patrick Payton. There's a lot of users, players that are in the mix for this one. Best interior lineman, Georgia, Tate Ratledge. He is at number 1. USC's got Jonah Monahan, Cooper Mays from Tennessee, and Donovan Jackson from Ohio State are all in the running for that best tight end. Jack Vealing. This does not surprise me, though, Tim. Not pointing any fingers or saying anything, but tight end being the top right here does not surprise me. So, what's up, Randy? Thanks for joining. Mitchell Evans from Notre Dame, Tyler Warren. These 3 guys right here battling out for the best tight end. The Broyles Award, Assistant coach, Michigan State's got 2 guys up there in the top. K-State and Penn State, Ohio State, they're all vying for those. Best linebacker, Clemson. This does not surprise me either. Bird is such a good user linebacker player, and so Barrett Carter, he is the top guy there with Cout or Cott. How do you say these names? Alabama, and then Clemson also has Wade Woodaz. I think somebody from EA did, Wade Woodaz. So anyway, he's number 3, the best linebacker. The best center, we got a couple guys that are vibing. Cooper Mays, Jonah Monahan. They are both there. The Lou Graza Award, best kicker. We've got a couple of users that are there in the top. Georgia Tech, Aiden Beer. He is number 2. And then Chase Meyer from Penn State. Best punter. Who cares about a punter? You would like to buy a hamburger? I like to buy a hamburger. No, it's actually the way you do it is like, I would like to buy a hamburger. That's the way it's supposed to go. If any of you guys have not watched The Pink Panther with Steve Martin, you've missed comedic gold in your lifetime. Quit being a sourpuss and go watch it. Have a laugh, all right? So, back to the best returner. Zachary Branch from USC. He's tops right there. Kazi Holmes from Florida State, 2, and Kojo Antwi. Oh, Auntie at Ohio State is at number 3. So that's all the awards. Man, I have a stroke trying to pronounce all these crazy names. That's why I can say stupid names, but it actually is somebody's name, so I don't want to call them stupid, but it's very hard to pronounce if it is your actual last name. So I only graduated from the 3rd grade. All right, so next on the list, it's the bringing it to the end. Basically, I just wanted to talk to you guys. One, you guys have noticed that I put up the vote for. I'm trying to find it on Discord right now. The vote for the advanced times. One, we're blowing through the advanced so fast right now, and then you only have like one CPU user game left over, and the way we had it set up was going to be Wednesdays and Sundays, and so setting basically for 48 hours for one game to be played, and if it got played and everybody was played, we're just setting for another 24, 36 hours with nothing going on. So I know a lot have asked, can we go the faster advances? And I know some may not be able to keep up with having two leagues. So if you're in the OMFL league and in this league and you can't do 2 leagues, by all means, do not keep this league. I want you to stay faithful to the OMFL, and then we will adjust as we move forward. But I also think, and so far the votes have been 16 for the 72-hour advanced league, 3 for Tuesday 8 p.m., Thursday 8 p.m., Sunday noon advance, and then there's been six votes, which I think one of those is also the me all-knowing putting a vote in there just to get it started. But 5 of those have been for keeping it for Sunday and Wednesday. I personally don't really care either or. Myself, I do now kind of lean towards the 72-hour myself, but it definitely is something that had to be addressed because, like I said, Bill has done a phenomenal job with keeping the league moving forward, and he's just, he would bring to me like, hey, uh, we got all games played, and I know we've got recruiting that can be done also. But in the real essence of things, like if you don't have time to do the recruiting within 72 hours, you probably really don't have time to play a second league. And then on top of that, uh, most guys for most of the season weren't doing recruiting properly anyway because they were setting it and forgetting it and didn't realize that you could go and alternate things around as we go. So again, that's just kind of the crossroads we're at. I would love to keep it just Sunday and Wednesday, but again, it's hard to keep 20 guys in a state of limbo for more than 3, 4, 5 days. Maybe before they play their next game. So it's just not, from a standpoint from a league, it's just not real good. I don't think any league would want that to happen. So, but we'll as it's looking right now, unless the rest of the guys happen to vote, which I think it's already, we're already past that point. But we'll be looking at moving to the 72 hour. We've basically already been that, almost sometimes even quicker than that lately because everything's been getting played. But now we'll go to strictly a 72 hour, and we'll keep with that as we move forward. So maybe hopefully that'll give a little bit of stability as we move on into getting ready for the playoffs and then for the off season because it will be quickly approaching. There has been some things brought to my attention about possibly doing the off season kind of like a draft night. We're going to do it first, I think, the way we've got it spelled out in our rules. But we may also look at doing a revamp to that once we've experienced it, went through it, and then we'll look at possibly making some changes for the next season to make a quicker transition between seasons. So with that said, so I put it in the chat. A thread, Ask the Commish on the 360 show. So basically, definitely don't want to steal the mailbag thing from the OMFL, but it's the mailbox. So we're gonna look at the questions that were given. We'll give our best answer, and hopefully that gets you a little bit informed on some of the things that you may be inquiring about. Inquiry minds want to know. So those of you 2 or 3 that are watching, thank you. Those that are tuning in to the presidential election thing, I'm running for president in 2030, so just keep me on your ballot when I get there. Randy says, who are some of the teams that you can potentially see knocking off the Giant and Denbrew and his Buckeyes? I don't know. True, to be honest, I've watched some of his games, and that Buckeyes team is so dominant. They've got so many. As we were looking through the awards, you saw that 3 of his cornerbacks are all at the top position for the best DBs. Absolutely, I'll be able to out-talk him. I mean, I can talk for hours and hours and hours and just throw stats in his face, But anyway, 2030 though. Remember my name, Maniac for America. Who are some of the teams that potentially see knocking off the Denver and his Buckeyes? So I think, I think there's probably a couple that has a outside chance if it snows and it's in a hurricane, um, and all those things that are factored in happens to just happen the best. I think as an owner, you're looking at the man that just asked the question, K State, I think has the potential to knock him off. I don't know if his roster, just looking at the difference of that roster, I don't know if it's feasible because, but I mean, there's always a chance. Uh, so I think Georgia's roster is definitely one that could rival Ohio State. You're looking at they actually have a little bit of a buff between the two teams, but Bill in New York, I know he's very busy. I don't know if he really has the ability to just really game plan around facing Denver. So I think that would be one that could possibly uh, take him on as a team. Uh, Clemson is also another one. I know he's got the one loss, but I think he could match up really well. But I think the biggest threat to Mr. Denbrew is his good friend, best buddy, and the Alabama coach. I think is uh, the best person, best team combined. Those two at taking down Denbrew and the mighty Ohio State Buckeyes. So that is my pick. So thank you for the question. And what teams have overperformed and underperformed your expectations? Um, the overperformed, I think, from my expectations is pretty easy. Looking at, I think, um, where did they go? Texas Tech, 9-2. Priest, Priest, I love you. If you ever watch this, you may not ever watch it. So, uh, if anybody wants to go tell him, I did not expect Priest to be 9-2. I will tell you right straight up, playing the CPU, playing people, whatever. I just do not expect Priest to be 9-2. He's played exceptionally well. He's ran the ball well, played pretty good defense. I know he's had some really close games. He's played offense too, and he's got a very good offense. So it seems like the college game has played well for him, and he's put it in the work. The other one, Tim. Tim, we saw him in the Deuce when we were the Madden League. Did really well with his Lions, but he never. Priest is listening. Well, I'll be. Um, Tim with his Lions, I think. Looking at what he did in the Deuce with the Lions, you knew that he was going to be probably not middle of the road or below middle of the road, but you know he was probably going to be one of the upper 10 to 15 teams in the league. But what he's done with Michigan State, they've got some pretty nice weapons there, and he's done a phenomenal job. I mean, you look at that 12-0, he's played some pretty steep competition and has been able to maintain that 12-0 record, and he's going to be playing for a Big Ten championship against Denver. I don't think he'll win. Nothing against you, Tim, but I could be wrong. I mean, I would not be completely shocked either if Tim won, but I would probably be surprised. But Tim has been a pleasant surprise, and I think one that has overperformed expectations. Uh, Talking about a couple more uh, overperformers. Twinkie, 6-4. I know the record doesn't speak kind of like what we looked at Tim and Priest, but Twinkie has done a phenomenal job with Virginia Tech, and he just beat a really good team. I can't remember who he beat just last week, but it was a user game, and he got the victory. And I was really impressed with that Virginia Tech team and how he has performed with them. So Virginia Tech and Twinkie are just kind of like peanut butter and jelly. They've went well together, and he's played well with them. The other pleasant surprise, Mike Fleury. Uh, he's We saw him in the OMFL. He struggled with those Vikings. I don't know, just maybe he was anti-purple or something. Anyway, Oregon State, probably one of the worst teams in the group, and yet he's 9-2, playing with an actual 81 overall team and being 9-2. That is really impressive to me. So that would be my overperforming my expectations. Underperforming, I don't really know if I could say I have like an underperforming team. Um, Maybe the Gators and Big Hurt. I mean, 7-3. I know he's probably had some. I think he may have had him and I had a sim game, so he got a loss from that one. And there may have been a couple more, but just currently though, with the status of his team with being 7-3 and 6 in the SEC, that would be one I would consider underperforming. Um, just looking through here. LSU being 5-5. Nate, he's a good player. He's like the rest of us. Anytime we get it inside of our heads, we can't get past it sometimes. But I know he loves LSU, and he's played well. He's played really good games against users, from what I can tell. CPU though just has his number, and it's just kind of like a roadblock there. So they have underperformed a little bit. Uh, mm, Texas A&M, Tennessee. These two teams have went through so many different transactions, and transitions. Oh, Kev has been from A&M to Tennessee. Bill has been all over the Big 12, and now in the SEC is A&M. So, just from an owner standpoint, Bill's probably underperformed a little bit. I expected him to be a little bit more in the top of consideration for bowl bids, championship run. Kev as well. Kind of surprising that he's 7-4, 10th in the SEC. Those guys, but again, like I said, they've bounced around a little bit. So, special Bill. But that would be my answer to that question. What conferences? This is from Tim. What conference do you feel is the best this season? I think if you look at the conferences, let's just go over here. Conference standings. See, we know we got everybody basically in the ACC and Big 12, Big 10, and we got SEC. All right, so ACC, we've got 5 teams. If you look at there, we got those teams are up at the top competing. I think you look at the Big 12. I know they lost Big Hurt out. I mean, not Big Hurt, but Bill out of there. But they're competing well. Not your upper echelons, though. I don't think. I think where you have to look at really though is like the Big 10 and the SEC. As you're looking like you got your top 2 teams undefeated. Your next 2 teams only have 1 loss. There is a little bit of a break there, but still those guys are uh, outperforming all the other teams. And then if you look at the SEC, 10-0, 10-1, 9-1, 8-3, 8-3, 7-3. I think just looking at that alone, I think you have to give it to the Big Ten. I mean they've got four teams that double digits in the win column, and a lot of the other conferences only have like one, or maybe have two. Let's see, there's two. Yeah, two there. Yeah. So just looking at that, I think you have to give the nod to the Big Ten. I think they're the top cream of the crop in season 31 of the Deuce, and but I think the SEC is kind of right on their heels, and then I think the ACC and the Big 12 are kind of battling out for that third spot. But nonetheless, all the conferences have been really competitive so far, and that shows in these records that you've seen right now in the conference standings. So the Big Ten, Tim, that is the place where you play, and they're the best. Okay, Mr. Nate, what is the thought of doing sliders instead of just playing the game it is built? I'd like to hear your thoughts on what caused you to decide that direction. Well. We're going to go over here and look at the sliders. So, this is the current sliders right now. Most everything is pretty much right at that midway point, except for like things like interceptions. Tackling is up a little bit. Fumbles are down. The less the number is, the more fumbles it's supposed to cause. Run blocking is down a couple points, and the tackle is up. Those correspond well together. Pass blocking was at 50 about midway through the season, and nobody was getting blocked. So that number just kept crawling up and up and up until finally kind of stopped hearing guys saying, hey, I don't have no time to throw the ball. And then you started seeing like some of the scores were increasing. So guys were obviously having better amounts of time to throw the ball and to make plays. So that's kind of where we are at the pass blocking. So again, like I said, I would creep it up a couple points each week to see what was happening, and that's kind of where we came to a stall at, where we start seeing still having some pass rush, but also ability to pass the ball. Quarterback accuracy has been at 45, I think, the whole season. Tackling was up at 58 to start the season, and has went down slightly over the course of the season because there was one point where running was getting really difficult after like one of the updates or whatever. But the run blocking has been anywhere between from at one point it was at 45 and then bumped up to 47. So again, those are basically just a few points, except for that one slider from the midway point. Where we get our big discrepancy, though, is the CPU. And I have been a believer that the CPU affects certain human things like pass blocking and different stuff like that. So, but with what we've seen in the process of when we started the season, quarterbacks and the CPU were so overpowered. Nobody could get any pass rush on the CPU teams, and CPU teams were kind of having their way. So I made the decision to start adjusting those CPU sliders down and down and down a little bit each week. And after this last update, I think some things have changed a little bit. May go back up on a couple of things, but as you've seen from some of the scores that we just looked at, um, we still got guys losing to the CPU, which is okay, but they're close games. And then there's other teams like Ohio State, uh, my Texas Longhorns for one, played a weaker opponent, and we scorched the earth with them, which I think is okay as well. But I think when you look at the human versus human games, so far we have seen very competitive games. They're not perfect, but I think they have coincided together very well, and I think these sliders have helped in that department. Maybe not so much in the human versus human games, but in the CPU games that you're playing that make them at least winnable, um, to where they were not at the beginning of the season. To where we're also seeing that I don't think it made a big impact, huge impact on our human versus human games, except for those, and a lot of these are not way off. Like again, a couple of points for your pass coverage stuff. Tackling is down for the CPU. Interceptions are down to 30. From what I can tell, like when they're up 40 and above, CPU picks off pretty much everything. Wide receiver catching is down for the CPU also. This just helps with the quarterback for the CPU not having uh, only 20 accuracy. They still are very tough to beat, and so this throws in another element of the wide receiver dropping the ball every once in a while. And I think we get that also. If I was to say, I think there's still one thing that affects uh, the stuff that we do, since we don't switch on the catch. I think it's this slider right here. I think it affects our players some. Uh, and my guy, Isaiah Bond, leads the league in drops. So if anybody's got a position to complain, it would be me. I'm just going straight up. But I think he's got like 12 or 13, and he had, I think, like 10 in the last like 4 weeks. So he's just been dropping the ball a lot. The other thing that I will say, um, I think we haven't paid attention to um, injuries and the fatigue and stuff. Fatigue is pretty much right at 50. I did bump that up a little bit. I also did bump up injuries back to 18. They were at 16. Bumped them back up to 18 a couple weeks ago. Speed threshold is at 50. We don't need any more speed. Um, all the uh, the penalty sliders are pretty much right there where they are. But the defensive pass interference have got bumped up to 60, so we see it a little bit more often, and we have seen it here and there. It's not like changes the game a whole lot, but I think pass blocking 62. That's the biggest discrepancy from playing it out of the box, and I think pass blocking for the CPU down to 32 is the biggest discrepancy besides quarterback accuracy. Everything else, though, and also run blocking. But I think everything else, so if you look at it, I think has been pretty close to the vest there of what came out of the box. Well, I hope that answered your questions. Um, but I think I was going to start a statement a while ago, and I didn't finish it. But I think there's one thing we haven't paid closer attention to. That where is it at? Where is it at? Okay. Depth chart. No, that's not where I want to go. View your roster. I think one of the things that we haven't paid attention to is your injury situations. I think from week to week, and I don't know this. I've seen uh, only a couple guys have injury risk like during the week. Um, and I've looked through my squad quite often, and nobody seems to have anything carrying over week to week, which is kind of not so much troubling, but it just means that the um, big selling point of the game is not working properly. And so, but I think the one thing we haven't paid a close enough attention to, though, is in game. I think where it is working is in game. If I've noticed and you notice, when you're playing the game, and you see that your quarterback is getting smacked around, even some of your linemen, if they get hurt, you see them kind of wincing around, holding their arm, and but you don't really think about it. But if you look at their attributes, I was looking at yours the other day when I was playing a game, and he kept missing like easy throws. And I'm like, what is going on? And it wasn't like just like glaring me in the face, but I started looking into the player cards, and he had a negative 15 throw power because of getting hurt. And this was in the middle of a game, and so he lost his ability to throw the ball. He was like negative 10 on medium accuracy. So I was like, oh, this is the reason why he's throwing some ducks. So I ended up having to sub in Manning for a little bit to let him rest, and he never got fully better the rest of the game. He was still kind of like limited. He did start, I guess, going through the process of kind of healing or dealing with it during the game, but it was one of those things that it just didn't really dawn on me because we're not having to deal with the wear and tear impact throughout the season. And for whatever reason, like I said, I don't think it's working properly. But during the game, it is working. And I think that's one of the things that maybe we have failed to um, uh, pinpoint as we're playing their games. So if you see like your lineman missing a block, that was another one. My my left tackle, and I only say this because Nate is like one of the only ones that streams and talks a lot of times when he's streaming, and he's talked about his offensive line not playing well, and I've had those feelings a few times with my offensive line. I've got a pretty solid offensive line. Banks Jr. here, he's a 95 overall, but he got hurt. Like on the first or second play of the game, I was running a sweep play to the left side, and he got banged up. He didn't come out. He got banged up. You know, he showed him kind of limping around or whatever, holding his arm. I think it was like holding his arm or something, and it affected his strength. His strength rating went down like to 80, 81 or 70, something like that. It was crazy. And then his impact blocking and also pass blocking and run blocking went down significant, like 6, 8, 10 points, something like that. So, and then he started getting beat around the outside because he couldn't move or couldn't put hands on. So, again, if you start noticing that, you might need to check out your player, make sure they're not injured. You may need to sub somebody in. So that's just another little quick tip that I came across that you might need to view next time you're playing a game, and all of a sudden you're like, well, why is this guy just breaking through every time, or my guy's just acting dumb? Injuries will affect their ratings. So next time that happens, just check that out and see if it helps. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But it did help for me because I did switch in a guy, and he started blocking better, and I was able to finish out the drive. I think it was like the second half he came back and he was mostly better. Like he wasn't like negative 15 or whatever it was. But anyway, so that's just something to think about next time you play. But this show went way longer than what I wanted it. Sorry, Big Hurt. We could have probably just talked together, but you and I have been in here with probably 2 hours. So, but that's it, guys. That's all I wanted to share with you. Kind of get in touch with you and let you know what's going on, some of the things that we've been doing, and just talk about the league. Look at the things like that. And thanks for the questions. Really appreciate it. And that's it for the 360 show. This is Commish, Mr. Maniac signing off. Remember, I'm running for 2030 for president, so Maniac for America. Put it down. Peace. Deuces. See ya.